What's up, guys? Welcome to my brand new channel. My name is No Face Some Games, and I'm going to be taking you through my take on the Hunter Spell Hunter deck list. It's my brand new channel, and there's going to be loads of Hearthstone content coming up, so like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'm just going to jump straight in and let's take a look at this deck. So, without further ado, the Spell Hunter deck is basically an archetype that is surrounded by one legendary card. That is the legendary weapon that you get for the Hunter archetype. It's rhok'delar, as you can see right here. It's a 7 mana, 4/2. It's got great presence in terms of aggro, like if you're going to hit them face, it's fantastic. But the battle cry is basically second to none in terms of effects. Because it's battle cry if your deck has no minions, fill your hand with Hunter spells. And it really does eliminate one of the main problems that the Hunter sort of archetype has, which is you bottom out of your hand quite fast. You lose all your cards, and then that's that. Which is another great thing about this card is even if it starts off in your hand, even if you've mulliganed and you still get this card, it's still pretty good. You can basically exhaust all of your secrets, all of your spells, up until turn 6 where you can potentially coin it out, or turn 7 where you can play it, and it's got that fantastic effect. So that's the first legendary card in this list. My list only runs one other legendary, and that is the DK Deathstalker Rexar. Another great legendary card. Although there is a little bit of conjecture as to whether this is a good card to run. Looking at the stats, if you go over to HS Replay and check out the stats, when this card is actually played in this deck list, it's got a fairly low win percentage. I wouldn't say that's my sort of take on it. I wouldn't say that that's my experience with it, because I think that whenever I've played this, I usually end up winning. Just because I think if you use it correctly, if you sort of pick properly, like the different types of monster, the different types of beasts that you can craft with the hero power, which is another fantastic aspect of this card, then you should be able to basically get a beast out every turn, keep it going, and usually keep control of that board. Not only does it have the fantastic hero power that you get from it, but also its battle cry is pretty good too. Dealing 2 damage to all minions is a very good battle cry, especially for this deck, because there's not really much AoE. I mean, you do have explosive trap. You can get a little bit of AoE, especially early on, but it doesn't necessarily always work. You don't necessarily always draw it. So having that deal 2 damage to all minions is a pretty good thing to have in terms of this legendary card. So some people don't run it, some people do run it. I run it. I feel like it's a good inclusion to have. It's a 6-cost legendary. It's pretty good. It's pretty good to keep in there. There are a few other key cards in this deck. You're basically looking at your Lesser Emerald Spellstone. This is potentially even better than Deathstalker Rexar, just because you can use it you can have loads of synergy with your secrets. You can use it in conjunction with your secrets, and it upgrades each time you play a secret. So you starts off with summoning 2/3/3 wolves. You can then upgrade it to its fully evolved form of 4/3/3 wolves, and unless you're playing loads of priest, unless you're basically going around there trying to get around and play around their AoE board clears that they have, especially with the dragon decks that are around right now, then it's really useful. If you can play around those, then you can really populate your board really quickly. You can just get those beasts out there, and you can really go face and put some proper pressure on your opponent. There's another epic card that you use in this deck, at least I do anyway. It's To My Side. It's another great card for specifically this deck. I don't know why you'd run it in any other Hunter deck, just because the effect is summon an animal companion, or 2 if your deck has no minions. And I don't see why you'd run that in a deck with minions. I mean, there are archetypes of this deck that have minions. You have archetypes that have Barnes and Yasharaj, and it's a great combo, and it probably does a little bit better on ladder than just the Spell Hunter. But in terms of dusting and crafting, to craft those 2 legendaries, especially when they're rotating out in a couple of months, is maybe not conducive to your dust flow. So I tend to not run those. I prefer going for the sort of purity of just the spells deck list. And so that card's incredibly good. It helps you get beasts on the board. It helps you, create late game pressure. It's really good. It's a really good card. Going back to the beginning of the deck list, you've got a couple of cards which work fantastically well together. You've got Candle Shot, which is a 1/1/3. Your hero is immune whilst attacking a weapon, which maybe when it first came out, people were just like, I don't see how 1-drop 1/3 is actually very good. But if you use that in conjunction with your Hunter's Mark, changing a minion's health to 1, you can get rid of some of the really heavy hitters. And that works fantastically well for clearing the board, keeping you in control, and helping you potentially get rid of some of the nastier, bigger taunts that are out there, which would stop you going face. Also, we're running 2 tracking, and obviously with a Spell Hunter deck, you're going to get lots of secrets. The secrets that I run in this deck are 2 Catrick, that works wonders against your Tempo Mages, even against some of your aggro Paladins, your Murloc Paladins, because they're going to be running secrets as well. They're going to be running spells. I run 1 Explosive Trap because it gives you the 2 damage to all minions, which is fantastic. It even affects the hero as well, so that potentially gives you more damage on the board to the face. I run a Flare just because it works perfectly with getting rid of minions with stealth, getting rid of secrets. It helps you card draw, which is fantastic, especially with the Hunter archetype, which is great. You've got 1 Freezing Trap, 1 Venomous Trap. I know a lot of people use Snake Trap. I like the idea of Venomous Trap because even if maybe sometimes you don't have minions on the board, a lot of times you are generating minions through different magical cards that you've got in this deck, and having that 2/3 Poisonous Cobra on the board, it forces them to deal with it, and they either have to deal with it or you can use it to take down maybe a slightly bigger minion that you wouldn't have to or wouldn't be able to, and you work from there. Carrying on, I only play 1 Wandering Monster. A lot of people play 2 Wandering Monsters, but for me, just playing the 1, it works better because it's just too random. The 3-cost minion that you get is just like you could get 1/1, you could get a 4/7. Sometimes I've got 4/7, and it works really well because it means that it takes out the minion that they're attacking with, especially early game, and then you've still got a minion on the board to create pressure. But I just go with 1 because most of the time I end up getting out 3/3s, I end up getting out 1/1s, 1/3s, so it doesn't always work. So I would rather run the Flare, and have 2 Venomous Traps instead, just because that helps you clear that board a little bit easier. You've got 1 other weapon in this deck, and that is Eaglehorn Bow, and no matter what, just try and get the synergy with your secrets, because in some matches you can basically end up with sort of unlimited durability. If you play it correctly with the secrets, it works really well. You can end up going faces really early on and sort of creating that pressure that I keep talking about. On top of that, you've got Kill Command. Kill Command is another staple for sort of any Hunter deck that is out there. You're looking at 3 damage to a minion or to face, or 5 if you've got a beast. And in this deck, you've got loads of ways of creating those beasts, loads of spells that are summoning those beasts, which works fantastically well. Moving on, you have 2 copies of Flanking Strike, another great way of dealing with minions on the board, summoning minions out of your deck, getting those minions even though you don't have any minions. I'm not so sure that there are better decks that have spells that summon minions straight out of your hand onto the board. And moving on, I like to run with an Explosive Shot. I run with an Explosive Shot. Some people run with Crushing Walls. I think Crushing Walls is a little bit too expensive mana-wise. You've got a 7 cost, and it fully destroys 2 minions either side of whatever minions your opponent has on the board. But this, I think you've got the potential to, especially against those aggro decks, you've got potential of taking out 3 minions rather than just 2. And it helps you in that respect. So I run with the Explosive Shot. It's slightly cheaper to craft as well, being just 100 dust rather than the epic cost of Crushing Walls at 400. Let's see. How could I have missed Animal Companion, another staple for any sort of Hunter deck at 3 cost. If you manage to get this on curve, if you manage to get Candle Shot, Secret, Eaglehorn Bow, Animal Companion, it all works really, really well, and it helps you to summon those beasts, keep them on the board, create that pressure, And as I was saying at the start of the video, this is a fantastic deck because you can play it as a control deck, you can play it as an aggro deck, and that's how you're going to want to play it. You know, if you're against those control decks, you're up against those Q blocks, you know, that are all over the ladder right now, you're going to want to go face. You're going to want to be as aggressive as possible before they have a chance to get to their possessed lackeys, their void lords, all of their sort of end game stuff, and you have what it takes in this deck to get there. You know, the win percentage against Q blocks isn't incredibly high, but then also on the other side of this is a fantastic control deck for all of those aggro decks out there. You know, you've got your tempo mages, you've got your aggro murloc and paladins. This works really well against those because you can create that early game pressure, but you can also control the board with stuff like explosive traps. Even Deathstalker Rexar, you can help get rid of those low cost minions. You've got loads of different ways of getting out minions, but then you've got loads of different ways of taking out said minions. I mean, Flanking Strike is an invaluable card in this deck list for something like that. So basically, that's that. That's the deck list. It's an incredibly fun deck to play. I wouldn't craft it if you haven't got all the dust in the world. If you haven't got a large amount of dust, don't craft this. Go and craft one of the tier 1 decks. Go and craft your Q blocks, your aggro paladins, your aggro murloc paladins, because those will get you to legend. This, it might not get you to legend. It might get you to dad legend, rank 5. I've managed to take this to rank 10 so far. I'm planning on pushing on forward with it. But like I said, it's a really fun deck to play. It works really well in the current ladder. It's not a tier 1 deck, so don't expect to craft it and get to legendary, but it's a solid tier 2 deck. So if you're confident in your ability in this game, then take this deck, use it. I'm sure you'll be able to get to legend, you know? So that was that. That was my first video. That was my deck list. That was my Splunter deck list. I just want to say thank you for watching. If you can like, if you can subscribe, that would be fantastic. If you want to comment, if you want to tell me something that I've missed, I should have put in, I should have taken out, that would be fantastic too. Leave a comment below. Get in touch. So this has been No Face, Some Games. Thanks, guys.